Well folks, welcome to Old Classic Car. Today it is a particularly sunny day, so I'm going to crack on with a few little jobs outside here, hence the snappy threads. And the main objective today is to have a bit of a rejig, maybe clear out some of the stuff that's over in the back corner of the garage there, because the ultimate plan is to get the MX-5, which is currently parked out there, in here. The weather lately this summer has been pretty terrible, and I'm really conscious that keeping a nearly 30-year-old convertible car outside isn't really a good idea for its long-term health, especially the bodywork and indeed the soft top. So yeah, I want to really try and get it in here. It will be a bit of a compromise having 3 rather than 2 cars in here, but the priority is to have as much stuff as possible under cover. I'm going to have to turf out one of the workbenches, and I'll probably find room for that somewhere behind Big Dodge at a later date, but for now that'll go outside. I'll probably have to box up some of the bits and bobs that are in the corner over there, but if that means that I can get the MX-5 under cover and in the dry, then that's surely got to be the best thing moving forwards. If I have to move it outside for a few days at a time, it's not going to come to any harm, but as long as it's mainly living under cover, that's going to be a really good idea, I think, just to help it survive, because these things do rust pretty spectacularly if left outside for too long, and yeah, I really don't want that to happen. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is move the Leno outside. I can push that out, I don't need to start it up, it's so small, and yeah, make a start on clearing some of the junk over in the far corner over there and just see if there's anything that can actually go, and that really is the aim for today. Have a sort through, see if anything can go that I don't need anymore, and stuff that I do want, just integrate it elsewhere in the garage and maybe box some of it up, at least for the time being. Right, so that's that okay, and outside now, the 2 cupboards over the back there, I think we will probably have to, I need to take out the stuff out of there, sort them through, and then the idea is to move those 2 cupboards there over here in front of Little Dodge, and that'll give me a nice big space so that we can move the A40, which currently is against this wall, and move it across the back there, so I can still get this important side for doing odd jobs to it. And like I say, if I need to turf the MX-5 out for a day or 2 at a time, that's no great issue, that's no great problem at all. So I think the first thing to do is probably go and get some boxes and then start emptying these cupboards, but I can only do that once I've taken all the stuff off and out from underneath the workbench there. That's the bench that'll be going outside temporarily. Once that's out of the way, I can drag that out, move those shelving units on that display cupboard round to there, and then we can think at some point, maybe today, maybe not, of moving the A40 across there, and that will give me space to put the Leno in here, and the MX-5 can just live in here. So that's the game plan. How much of it I'll get done today is anybody's guess, but I won't get anything done if I just talk about it. So I'm going to crack on with clearing the stuff from around the bench, and I'll report back once I've done that. Right. Obviously it would be a lot quicker job if my youthful assistant was with me today, but alas, he is back at school, so it's all down to his old man to get this done. There's lots of heavy things here, but I think we should be alright. I'll report back once I've made a bit of progress on shifting the stuff here. I think otherwise it's not going to be the most riveting of viewing, I'm afraid, and we wouldn't want that. Obviously longer term the plan is to put up a new shelter just outside there where the Standard and the tractor are parked at the moment, but we've got an expensive year coming up, I think, so that'll probably have to be put on the back burner for a little while, hence this bit of a rejig in the garage here. So I'm going to box up some of these old tins, see what we've got. This Fina tin, if you watched the France video you'll remember we found that in a antiques market in a French town which I forget the name of, so we bought a couple of those. So Harley got one of those and I got the other one. So I'm going to box up a little bit of this stuff just to put it safely out of harm's way. I would like to maybe put some shelving up just around the edges, high up on some of the walls here, and then some of these things can actually be displayed on there without taking up valuable surface space, because of course with this bench not in here I'll have less flat space to work on, so the bench that's over there is going to have to be much tidier than it is now. But yeah, we'll get there in the end. So multi-purpose grease, gunk hand cleaner and engine degreaser. Well, yeah, it's degreaser, isn't it? That can go in there. So yeah, so we'll just pretty hefty tin that once was full of Shell branded grease. So yeah, I'll just get all these tidied away, then we can move this bench out of the way, and then I can think about clearing the stuff out of there. Most of the stuff in there is Dodge related, stuff that I accumulated when Big Dodge was being restored all those years ago, some of which will also fit the half-ton pickup here. So despite appearances, there is actually some logic to the filing system in here. Bits are boxed under here, so that'll only take a few minutes to clear those out, and then the bench can come out, and then I can start getting a bit more organised. Bit of 3-in-1 Johnson's Auto Wax. Nice old little oil can there. Bonny little one that is. Old Oxo cube tins. These are really handy for storing stuff in. Always useful. Nothing in them at the moment, but that'll change, I think. There's an old triangle lorry which is just used for storing things in and on. It's not in the best condition, it's pretty tatty, and it's missing the grille that would have been on the front there. But in the garage it just looks perfect. Most of the stuff that you see in here is just things that I've picked up for like £1 or £2 in antique shops, car boot sales, you know, little antique centres, antiques markets, that kind of thing. But together it just gives the right overall look for the garage, which is what I intended all along, to make it look like a garage might have done in the 1950s or before. So where possible I've tried to avoid having too much new stuff or later stuff on display. The risk you run is that this place starts looking like a museum and you can't actually achieve and get on with as much as you want to, so there's a bit of a balance to find somewhere. So I'll box these bits up for now, and then like I said, if I can get some shelving up, then these can go on the shelving well out of the way, which is probably a good idea going forward. Let's take the stuff off here. You can check your spark plugs with one of these thingies. There we go. So you can check if you poke your spark plug through, you can compare it to these images here to see if your car is running rich, running lean, or running just right. So that's quite a cool thing. This nice old thermometer popped up somewhere for £3, it's only showing 12 degrees in here today, so I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it's just a nice thing. It looks the part, so again it's kind of appropriate. Who doesn't need the cap off a Godiva fire pump threaded inside, Godiva Coventry on the outside. I think this lovely box for Gordon tools has featured on here before. Who could resist that? An engine compressor off a Rolls-Royce Griffon aero engine as fitted to the likes of, you can even hear it, fitted to the likes of the later marks of Spitfire, Supermarine Spitfire, and also the Avro Shackleton. So yeah, you can't live without one of those. Who knows what that is? That is a valve spring compressor, side valve engine, in particular for the Ford Model A, because if we look somewhere on here we might just be able to make it out. It says, I think, Ford Model A just on there. So that's quite a cool thing, and again, you can't really live without one of these. So the jack for a Ford as well, you can just see, I think, the Ford script on there. So is that Model A or is it Model T? I'm not quite sure, but either way, it's quite a cool thing, quite hefty. This was bought from a little corner antique shop in Oswestry. Cool thing. Alright, so I think the bench can now be pulled out. So I'll just have to move the camera because I think it's going to be in the way. That's actually quite a historic bench in its own right. That came from the apprentice shops at the Ellesmere Port Vauxhall plant many years ago. So yeah, ultimately that will end up back in there, but for now it's going to go out there somewhere, and that will free up a lot of space and allow me to put the cabinet and the shelving there, just over there, giving me loads of space on the back wall. So yeah, there is a plan to all this, but I've just got to get it done. Who remembers these? If you were around in the 60s modifying cars, do you remember these? The aero fan. The idea of these is, when you're at idle, the blades were quite a coarse pitch to give lots of cooling through the radiator, and as you rev the engine, these actually twisted. So this predates like the viscous fans that you get on a modern car. That's quite cool. So the blades are on a spring, they're spring loaded. So this is just a sort of gizmo you would have bought for your, I don't know, souped up Mini Cooper or something like that back in the 1950s, 1960s. Quite what this is off, I'm not sure. I'll have to try it before I put it away. I'll have to check it on the A40, because if that fits the A-series engine, that'd be quite a cool accessory, a period accessory to put on it. This side to engine, the aero fan, made in Broadway, Worcestershire. Yeah. What a cool old thing that is still. In its original bag even. Does things get any more exciting than that? Does YouTube classic car content get any more exciting than looking at an engine fan in an old plastic bag? Well, I'm not sure it does. Right, let's get that outside. Oops. Let's put that there. Yeah, that's a hefty lump of wood. 2 more aero fans found. I'm sure at least one of them will fit on an A-series. May well be the A-series in that little grey car just over there. Here's an interesting thing that came with the 24 Dodge Tourer that was shipped in from Australia, that we owned for 10 years. This is a tyre inflator. There's a name on it somewhere. A Dead Easy. Patented 1917. And this basically was bolted through here onto the running board. I think the idea was you would have a long connector from here, and somewhere on here there is the actuator. Is it that? I think it's this here, and you would have had a lever. There's a bar that goes in there, and that you could pump your tyres up with. So that's a proper from the teens, so well over 100-year-old tyre inflator. I think I removed it so that I could fit a toolbox onto the running board. I think it was on that side. One side I had a toolbox, the other side I had an old tool-gone can, but I've not seen one of these before, so it's certainly quite a nice accessory. And sometime I hope to get another nice old vintage car, and that could possibly go on the running board of it, so I have to keep that somewhere safe. I have oiled it up, as you can probably see, just to keep the chrome in good condition. Yeah, that's quite an interesting little talking point, that one. Almost looks like a pair of binoculars, but definitely not. Right, next up, need to have a go through the stuff on here, take them out just so I can move this shelving around a bit. This shelving actually has got a bit of a story to it in that it came from what was the RAF Burton Wood Air Base over not a million miles away from Warrington and the M62. I think the M62 actually cuts through the centre of what was Burton Wood, so that's where those came from, apparently from an auction held many years ago. Now there's some stuff here which I want to keep. Some things, I mean, there's an old Bakelite radio there which, to be honest, is just taking up shelf space, so that can probably go. So we'll see about that, but that's in the possibly to sell. Badge off a comma super poised lorry. Long-termers on the channel will remember that 1950 comma that we had here for quite a long time. So that was I think that was a spare that I found for it, and I kept this as a souvenir because the truck already had one with it. That's probably something that can go. That's actually a new old stock grill for a 55 Cambridge Mark II, if I remember correctly. Just like the one we used to have, so that'll fit a car from 59 to 1961. So I'll probably end up advertising that because I don't think I'll be needing that anytime soon. But yeah, pretty cool thing. It may just end up on the wall somewhere actually. In fact, yes, I think that will probably end up on the wall. But just need to move this out. Actually need to move that. That was in the way. Right. This hasn't moved in a while. Right, there we go. That's in place now, so all the bits of dodge down here can now go back in there. Hey, but before we do any of that, I think it's time for a brew. Well, there we go. Almost done with the first cupboard. Yes, so I've just got another crate to unpack, put that stuff on there, just get it on there for now, and then I can turn my attention to this, the cabinet here, which will be going over here, and that'll give us loads of room over here. I have organised a few things which I can get rid of, which aren't really relevant to the garage. That's good. So it's, yeah, that's another benefit of having just a bit of a tidy up here in the garage, that if you find something that you don't really need anymore or isn't really relevant, then it can go in the corner to dispose of, however that may be. But yeah, I think let's just get this crate finished and then I can turn my attentions to that one there. Things to get rid of so far include, I've got a number of 2-gallon petrol cans, some of the plain ones with no markings on, that kind of thing. So as I've got a number of branded ones that used to hang up in the main garage there, I've kept the branded ones. The plain ones, I think they can probably go. I don't really need those. People seem to repurpose them, turn them into lights and all that kind of thing, which isn't really my cup of tea, but if it gives them a new life, then maybe it's better than just rusting away in the corner of a shed somewhere. So anyway, let's crack on. Okay, right here, well there we go. Both of those cupboards are now over that aside, so that is, well, we're part way there on phase 1, which was making space to put the A40 over here. There's obviously boxes, bits and pieces around that need tidying up, and I will probably revisit the stuff on the shelves and just try and organise this a little bit better. But the priority today was to just get everything kind of in its original place and then just figure out how much actually space there is to play with. I think it's probably time for a bite to eat now because I'm getting very, very peckish indeed. Right, things to dispose of. Here is that old Echo radio. It's actually in pretty good condition. Probably what, 1940s, 1950s, something like that. If I can find somewhere for it, I will hang on to it because I do love the shape of this kind of thing. I've got an old Pyrene or similar fire extinguisher. This is a funny one. This is well, it's not a brake testing meter, I think it's a gradient meter. But it's both actually, isn't it? Yeah. So you've got brake testing on that side, I hope you can see that, and the gradient meter on that side. And someone's mounted it into this brake drum. So that's quite a curious thing. Of course, when you're testing your brakes with one of these old, what they call Tapley meters, you'd have this flat on the passenger footwell, reset it, and then off you go. So yeah, it's a bit of a curious thing. I've got an old few bits and bobs over there, the old friction dampers, not quite sure what they're off, maybe Morris, 3 2-gallon petrol cans, nothing too special in that lot. So yeah, I haven't exactly gone to town in disposing of things, but just a few things that really are surplus to requirement, I think. The Renault's enjoying the sunshine today. I think the move of the A40 will wait till tomorrow now. Got a few things to do this afternoon, so yeah, I think that's probably a good stage to break off and then come back in the morning and finish off the big move. Well, it's day 2 and back out in the garage for more fun and games. The A40 is back on its wheels. As you can see, I did that. I dropped it back on the wheels off the stand yesterday, ready for today's action. So let's get this back outside, tidy up over here, and then start thinking about moving the A40. Okay, well, let's clear a bit more stuff. Clear the clutter out of the way. Right. Where do I start? That's the question. The old George VI chair. If you can see that one there. Another essential purchase. So I'll just carry on a bit more of the same. Before you know it, that space will all be clear. So to get it round, we'll be using a fairly hefty trolley jack over there, put it on the back axle, pull it round, maybe have to pull the front out a little bit as well, and then just a bit of shunting backwards and forwards. I may still need to remove one of the things off the wall just to be able to get that nice and close, but that's the general game plan anyway. Hopefully. That's got that side well away from the wall, so we should be able to spin it around on the jack. But yeah, there will be a fair bit of shunting around, so I won't make you sit through all of that. Oh. Back. Okay, next thing is to swing the front round and into that far corner over there. It probably would have been easier if the car had been already pointing in that way, then I could just swing the back end round, because it's easier to jack up at the back rather than the front. But this is what it is. There you are. Get the front where it needs to be over there, and then a final bit of jiggery pokery to get into place. The trick is not to rush. Okay. Well, there we go. A40 is in its own corner now, and there's actually a little bit more space fore and aft than I was expecting, so I can get around the back, I can get around the front, and I can get around the side here. If I ever need to do a bit more at the front or a bit more at the back, I can simply push it backwards and forwards, and there is actually a bit more space than I was planning on, so that's really good. I measured the floor to make sure that there is the length to get the MX-5 in there, so there is. So with that in situ now, the A40 tucked away over there, nice and sound and secure in there, I can just start tidying up and sort of just tidy up some of the bits and pieces that I've moved, again go through them a bit, see if there's anything I want to get rid of, and yeah, first things first, I think we'll go and have a brew. Okay, time now to pop the Renault back in its corner, in its new home, over on that side of the garage. a bit more fiddling around. I had thought I'd push it, but well, maybe not. But anyway, usually I'd have my youthful assistant with me and he would help with the guiding and the parking. So today I'm flying solo, he's at school, so yeah, I'm quite happy with how that fits in. And there we go with the Renault in its new corner. All that's left to do really is just refine some of the details, i.e. I need to clean up this workbench because this will be main workbench number 1 of 1 for the time being. But yeah, at least everything that needs to be in place is in place. I do need to sort out a little bit more storage for some of the A40 bits and pieces, maybe get another shed, something like that in the interim. But at least everything is where it needs to be, and this way I can get the MX-5 undercover, you know, in good time for the really bad weather, sort of autumn, winter. It's not too far away and it'll be here before we know it. So that really is the priority. So at least the MX-5 can live in here for most of the time. Like I said at the beginning of this video, if I need to do a bit of work on something, I can always turf it outside for a day or 3. It won't come to any harm. I think that'll probably do for this particular video. So thank you for watching this bit of a fiddle around, mess around, bit of a rejig in the garage here at OCC HQ. Don't forget there are loads of videos on the channel about the Renault and indeed the other cars that are here. Just search for the playlist of cars at OCC, I think it's called, or something along those lines, and you can see what we get up to here. So thanks so much for watching. Please check out the rest of the channel, give it a like, maybe subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, and there'll be many more videos along really soon. So bye for now.